Bonjour, je me présente, Stéphane Beaulieu, porte-parole pour la compagnie Bois Drave Incorporée. Nous sommes sur le site du lac T. Ici, au lac T, tout ça, nous sommes en train de faire un développement puis des recherches avec l'Université de Québec, secteur Campus Amos, et aussi avec un groupe qui s'appelle le groupe GREMA, incluant aussi le Centre de recherche international de les forêts froides alentour d'ici. Ici, notre but principal tout ça au lac T, c'est de nettoyer le lac. Quand on veut dire nettoyer le lac, présentement, ça va faire notre 6e année que nous sommes en train de recueillir les bio submergés pour nous donner accès à des endroits sensibles, tout ça, pour la vie aquatique. La phase 2, tout ça, de ce projet ici, ça va être de nettoyer l'écorce et de vraiment remettre le lac T à un état naturel avant la drave. Le plus possible.
This is just to show you a little bit of a demo. We're gonna not spend a lot of time on here. We're gonna do more physical demonstrations later. But this is what it takes for one of us to go down diving. We need the tank, our vest, hoses. This is 10 pounds. I carry 2 of these underneath in my vest right here. They go in here. That's what helps me sink. The tank weighs about 30 pounds, and I got about 24 pounds on me to help me go down even faster. But no, I need 24 pounds because what happens is that you guys can come over and touch and feel. Everything is thick. And wetsuits, if you guys never put on a wetsuit before, it's the best life jacket you can ever have. You cannot sink, you can't even stand. It keeps you up floating, you're always laying down, either on your belly or on your back. That's why with the weights we need to stabilize how we're going to approach the dive and all that. Dive flags, fins, masks, hoods, gloves, and these are the ropes. We got a little buoy on top. This is just to help the boat recognize where the logs are and easier to spot. Clips underneath. What we usually do is we'll go around the log, clip it, choke it, and as we pull, it chokes the log. The boat comes around, looks for the rope. The rope is it'll float too. But the buoy makes it easier. And a lot of times it happens at least once or twice during the season we'll get one of these caught in a prop. So there's always stuff to look out for, especially when we have 2 ropes out there now, but usually we'll have about 40 to 50 ropes out there. And with a wind, sometimes your boat's turning, the logs as you're pulling them, they'll come up to your point where you're gonna be swinging from one way to another. The logs are super heavy. We got 2 fresh logs that we just pulled out. There's a boom that we pulled out. We got it over on the other side. These are tools that we did find, not all of them. When you see something like this that's floating in the water, I spotted it because I noticed there was a little ball at the top, and I knew what it was. It wasn't a branch, it was a tool. This is what they look like when we find them. They're very old. Some people have modified them. I don't know why, but some people have modified them. Oars, pieces of oars that we've had, that we keep and all that, just to show and tell. One of my dolls. One of my dolls. Some of the bottles that Julie, Pierre found, there's thousands of them. Yeah. We just pick some of the nicer ones that we usually find and all that. And of course we got log ends again. The bark, this here, you guys can pass this around. This was in a bottle. Oh. Yeah, it wasn't in that jar. It was in a bottle about this size with a hole similar to that. It took me 25 minutes to get all that bark out of the bottle by filling it back up with water, shaking it, and collecting the bark in a strainer and all that. That's what we're after, is to get the bark out of the water and that as much as we can. Dive trailer. We call this our dive trailer because we have our portable compressor. We were self-sufficient. We don't have to run after we're finished diving to go to a store or a facility to fill up our tanks. We fill up our own tanks. It's a certified dive compressor just for that. Everything that we have basically gets hung up, placed. When we come up on site, we just open the doors and away you go. Eventually we'll have our camping trailers and everything here. So this is our summer home. We have a beach, we have our logs, everything's happy. But this used to be an old There's an old foundation here. There used to be 3 houses here. There's one here, one in the bush over there that I remember also. The third one, I can't remember where it was. That's what I was told, that there was at least 3 houses. Where your vehicles are parked, there used to be a big diesel fuel tank there that they removed. There's a dock system that you can only see the remnants of it, but there used to be tugboats on this lake here too. Not big, super big tugboats, but there were tugboats bringing in the logs and all that around this area. Very busy place, I guess, back in the early 1900s, but right now it's nice, quiet. Hardly any boat traffic. Makes it fun for us to dive because we don't have to worry all the time. So that's about it for that. Yeah, you guys, the bridge that you guys crossed on, that old picture that I showed with that log slide, it started from that bridge and it worked its way down to the creek. As you go out, you'll probably notice a little bit more. If you look down the rapids, there's still remnants of a log jam that happened. That's why they built the log slide, because the river has a little bit of a curve in it and the logs just piled up in one area. So you'll be able to see that on the way out at the same time. Any questions? We're going to go to the... Yes?
How long have you been working here, in this area at least?
We've been here since 2016. And we've been pulling out about 600 logs. The only year we didn't do anything was last year. COVID kind of played around like with everybody and every business and all that. So last year we kind of took a year off and helped out our friends and that around town. But we've been here since 2016, regularly every summer pulling out logs.
In the same lake?
The same lake. When I say like the kilometer by a kilometer and a half, this is T Lake, this section here. Lac T, or the other part of T Lake, is on the other side of the old train track where you see like a road that crosses, cuts the lake in, not even in half. It's about 1/3 on this side and the other 2/3 on the other side. So we've played around here a lot. Right behind, if you look at some of the houses and all that, we underwater, we call that the enchanted forest. And yesterday, the other day when you were doing your presentation on roots, if you want roots, we can go cut you some sections of roots later on. What they did is when they flooded the lake, the trees just fell. They didn't cut the trees or nothing, so we swim through a bunch of root systems and we can get a bunch of trees. But the trees that are there, we're not allowed to pick them. We're not allowed to go cut them or anything like that yet. Eventually we'll probably ask permission and all that from the ministry if they want us to do something with that part of the lake also. But for now, it's just basically straight logs that have been cut in the old days that we're pulling out just to free up the areas around the rapids and around the beaches and stuff like that. Anything else? Any more questions?
So it sounds like for the fisheries, the rapids is probably the best place to reclaim, to preserve, but it seems like it'd be the most dangerous to dive as well. Is that true?
It's not that bad. Like when we're talking rapids over here, you'll see it's pretty, the current's not that strong here. Like if we went into an area where there was really dominant rapids. But rapids, usually what happens is that you'll get surface rapids, but the underwater of it, after the spring thaw and everything else, everything drops in current-wise. But you'll still get that big bowl, the hole that just keeps rotating and pushing stuff further and further out, and will create mountains. That's what we want to go into. The bark that we see underwater a lot of times around the rapids look like this. This is white pine. It's soft, it's brittle. This is fresh out of the lake. When it dries, it gets even more brittle. So it's stuff like this that we want to start pulling out of the lake. These little things here from the red pines, you can't even pick it up, they just fall apart.
What is the depth of T Lake?
T Lake here, when we go with the boat and all that, we've measured it out. We're usually around 40 feet. It kind of caves in and there's an actual channel. The old creek is still there. From where, I don't like how old that creek is. I know they raised the water, I just don't know how high they put the water up here. At least 10 feet, according to the dam, where how deep that dam is, how down it goes. At least 10 feet, but it's hard to tell because it could be an ancient stream that was here that started and then all of a sudden it just slowly got up and raised itself. But
And when did the dam go in?
they rebuilt the dam in 2005.
Was this from the 1800s?
Yeah, this whole dam here used to be a bunch of logs that were just used as a dam, and then they'd open and close and open and close and let the water go out. But it was logs before, and now it's all big. It's what you call an overflow dam. It's not a suction dam where a diver can swim right by the dam and we're not going to get pulled in and sucked into the dam because it's just an overflow.